Start with Jake.
Coach, Jake Nichols with Sports Illustrated. Can you just talk about what you've seen from Juwan Mitchell so far and what he's brought to this defense?
The biggest thing with Juwan, with the group that we have, because it's so young and hasn't, they haven't had real collegiate experience. He brings a lot of that. He's played major college football. He was a starter in another Power 5 conference, so he brings a lot of savvy and brings a lot of veteran leadership, which is what this group needed. So he's been a welcome addition, for our unit. Like I said, savviness as far as seeing formations and, being able to get lined up, knowing what adjustments are, just because he's, been a part of, two, pretty, complex systems at the university he was at last time. So that's been, number one thing. We just kind of gotten pads. So, we finally got the physical part of it. And, he did a good job there. But, we want to get to a scrimmage before we put the, evaluation, the permanent evaluation on.
Brent and David?
Yeah, Coach, how different does your room feel now compared to spring, one, and two, just your overall assessment of your physicality today? I know it's not a scrimmage, but just the physicality of that group today, first day in pads.
First question, obviously just, strength in numbers. At the end of spring, I think we were actually repping maybe 5 guys, in that whole unit. So we were really, really thin, getting, obviously some of the guys that transferred in and getting, some of the guys back that were injured has been huge. Now we can get some quality reps and guys are not, trying to save themselves, just trying to survive practice. And, it increases the competition level, which is, I always say is the best coach in the world is competition. So, that's been, a bright spot. In the spring, everybody was like, you might have to suit up. And I don't think the Vols fans want to see that. So I'm glad we got the numbers that we have.
And your physicality today?
Yeah, first day in pads is always an exciting day. Been happy with it. Our guys, when we've been in, third tempo, which is just wrap up tempo, we've had guys that, have kind of been a little too exuberant and taking guys to the ground. So when we get the opportunity, we had the opportunity to do it today. I thought the guys really stepped up and did a good job there.
When you look at this group, how many guys do you feel like you want to play consistently?
There's always that magic number because of the position. Obviously, we're going to have guys that are going to travel and are going to be in the rotation, and then they're going to have guys that are going to travel and going to be mainly special teams player. So, if the group is right and, they're playing the way it should, you could have anywhere from 7 to 8 that travel, with us even on road games. But as far as the rotation, you always would like to be 3 deep. And does that mean you're going to have 6 guys ready to play, or you're going to have 5 guys with one of them being a swing guy? But, rotation-wise, if, everything goes the way it should, you'd love to have 6 guys that you feel like you could put in at any time and would help you win a game.
Hey, Brian, just what are your thoughts so far on what you've seen from Mohan and also Aaron Willis since he wasn't out there this spring?
Both obviously young kids. Obviously with Mohan, I have a little experience with him from last year. It's just with him learning the system. The challenge for him was always how to play a stack linebacker because he was a edge rusher in high school. So he's been really good. He's been better than I thought he would be as far as the learning aspect of it and learning to, read and react. It's just instead of just being an upfield pass rusher. And then as far as Aaron Willis, he's been a pleasant surprise. His biggest issue was without playing that COVID year, he really set himself behind just conditioning-wise, so he had to get his body back into playing shape. I feel like he had a good summer and has done that, and he's been a pleasant surprise so far this camp.
Coach, when you look at the defensive side as a whole, I know your room kind of is a perfect example of this, and you just talked about it, but how different does this defense feel when having these new bodies on the defensive line, linebacker, secondary, and then 2, Quasi Garland? How much growth have you seen from through spring practice to now?
As far as the defense as a whole, I think we all feel it as coaches. I think they would say, per man, that, we feel like we're coming together as a unit. Obviously, we were able to get, new guys, both freshmen and transfers at all three levels, and they're all paying dividends. And kind of like I said about the linebacker room, we feel like we have so much more depth, but, depth is one thing and quality depth is another, and we feel like we're really building that with the guys that we've brought in. And as far as Pat Garland has been, I think he's actually improved from the spring. He was another young man who came in as a defensive back and had to learn to play linebacker. And you can see the, progress he's made from the first day of spring to right now. And, we think he's going to be a big factor for us on defense this year.
Patrick and Vince.
Coach, kind of a two-part question. First, you didn't get to see Jeremy Banks in the spring. What have you kind of seen from him the first week about the way he practices and how he could fit? And kind of secondly, what those two linebacker spots, are they interchangeable? Is there a certain skill set you want at one and a different one you want at the other? Could you kind of maybe explain what the differences are in those two spots?
Yes, sir. Jeremy Banks, he's one of my, favorite guys on the team. You're talking about a young man that obviously wasn't here, but had to overcome a lot just to get, here and be able to suit up for us. Obviously plays the game hard. He's 100 miles an hour, for every play. And the biggest thing with him, we're just trying to get him to play under control and, play within the system. But you never question his effort, never question his toughness. So he's been a, pleasant surprise. And I think as far as the positions, he starting with Jeremy Banks, he's probably a prime example of a guy that could play both spots. We like to have them to be interchangeable. Obviously, our weak side linebacker, which we call our will, is a guy that is probably going to play in space a little bit more, where you have to walk out on a receiver and, be a little bit more of a blitzer. Our Mike linebacker is probably more of our run defender. He's going to be in the box and have to take on offensive linemen, and make all the coverage checks and front checks. So you'd like them to be interchangeable, but they have specific skills. But I'll say this, based off of the offenses now with the spread, starting with our offense that we see every day, those guys really do have to be interchangeable because it's turned into a space game, and they're going to have to go out there and walk out over receivers and make plays. So we'd like them to be interchangeable athletically, but we do have specific skills for them, per position.
What's the communication been like with your group to other units, being able to communicate with the front and the back end? What have you seen from that sort of IQ and communication standpoint of your group?
I think it's been good. That's one of the things Coach Banks always harps on. There should be some sort of communication every play, whether it's what you see from the offense or, what our adjustments are on defense. And, that's always the challenge for our guys, especially with the tempo that we see every day. But I think they're getting better. We correct things on tape, and it seems to be carrying over on the field. So, that's something that they're working on, but it can always get better. If it's not 100%, and, it's always something you want to work on. But we feel like we are, trending in the right direction as far as the communication, on all three levels.
Coach, Marvin Joseph, has he found a home yet? Is he a guy that can play inside or outside, or have you guys nailed down what he's going to do?
Marvin has been with us at the inside linebacker spot, and we have some, specific packages where we're going to try to use him, and as a pass rusher, because we feel like he does that, really well. His big thing is he's another guy that was an edge guy in high school, is learning to play, stack linebacker, because it's a difference, because you're more, read and react. And when you're an edge guy, you more react and read. And right now he's still trying to learn what to do as far as a stack linebacker, but he's been really good, our first 6 practices. Mojo is an interesting, player to evaluate, because he's such a good athlete. Sometimes he might look like it's taken him a little while to process, but when you really look at it, he's getting there faster than other people because he's, such a good athlete. So with guys like that, you want to make sure you put them in positions to have success. You don't want to keep, pounding away, trying to pound, and take away from his skill set. So I think he's progressing, at the rate that we want him to. Obviously, we want him to, be a little faster and, be able to play stack as well as become an edge rusher. But he's been, through the first 6 practices, he's been good.
Brian, I'm wondering what the leadership is like from that group within the players, because I know that there are some veterans in that room, but they haven't played a ton of snaps on defense. So how is that process kind of evolving there?
I feel like with most things, if this defense is going to be, what we hope it to be and what we plan for it to be, I think the leadership is going to be developed. I don't think we had an established leader in the room, and I think the guys that are going to be vocal, they're going to have to be able to live it every day. And I feel like we're working toward that. Obviously, you'd like it to be a veteran guy, but we've put it out that, anybody from a freshman to a senior, if that's what they feel like they can do, we want them to go out and lead. The more guys that are trying to lead, the better it's going to be. And obviously, the cream will rise to the top, and, the guys will know who to follow. So it's a work in progress, but we have some guys that, are trying to step up to the plate.
Last question, Trey.
Only going up against, this type of offense maybe 1 or 2 times this year, but you're doing it in practice. How are you guys responding on defense to trying to be able to install what you guys are going to do for most of the season compared to going out here and being so up-tempo against your offense?
That's the great part about with Coach Banks and his system. We're still installing the way we would no matter what the offense would be, and we will make the adjustments, and we kind of prep the players that way. Obviously, there's certain things we wouldn't do against our offense if it was a game scenario, but we want to get better for as a team and as a defense. So we have a normal install, and we kind of adjust the way we need to. We have our walkthrough periods where we can kind of go over what we think we're going to see on a week in, week out basis, in the SEC. But, like I said, that's the great part about with Coach Banks and how he's kind of done the install. We're going to go about it the way we would, going against any type of offense, and it's worked out. It's worked out great.
Do you think the players are picking it up on both sides, trying to go up tempo a little bit, but then y'all are also trying to settle in what you're doing?
Yes. And there's a fine line. The tempo does nothing but make us better because you have to be able to react very quickly with the way that they're getting lined up. And then you always have video to coach off of because you have the effort and, as far as finishing plays, but you also have the video as far as formations and how you fit plays. So it works out the way it needs to. And like I said, I give Coach Banks, all the credit because he's structured our install that we can actually go out and go play a game versus a team that's in 12 personnel, a team that's in 21 personnel, or a team that's in 10 personnel. And our guys would be able to be comfortable going out and executing a game plan versus any offense.
Thanks, BJ.
All right.